Welcome to the Sypno Tech Show. How you doing? I'm Alex. I'm joined by, as always, the very talented Lida.
Hey guys.
How you doing, Lida? We are back.
We are. We had a little bit of a break in between, but we're back and lots of stuff happening.
Lots of stuff. Technology always continues to move, even when we're not filming. And so we have a lot of big stories this week, and let's jump right into it right now. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, the two top stories we're going to be talking about are semi-similar. So they're both takeovers, both big corporate takeovers. The first one we're going to talk about is LeEco purchasing Vizio for $2 billion. So a Chinese big technology company called LeEco, if you haven't heard of them, they made big headlines at CES earlier this year when they brought out their first electric hybrid car, fully electric car. It was a fully electric car, and they showcased their concept models to the world.
Yeah.
They're also known for smartphones. They showed the world's first Snapdragon 820 phone back in early January, and they are just a big electronic conglomerate, and they purchased Vizio for $2 billion.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Vizio is also, it's an American branded company. It's actually nearby us here in Southern California, and it's a really respectable television brand that is relatively affordable and high quality.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know if it's LeEco or LeEco. I don't know. LeEco?
Sounds more like a French company than a Chinese company, but LeEco.
So LeEco, I think what they're doing is they're really aiming to be really prominent, and they're growing really quickly, and they actually just started hiring people in the US as well. But their goal is supposedly to be one of the top 3 smartphone manufacturers, and they recently launched the LeEco 2, Le 2, and LeMax 2 in India, and they're in the same family as the affordable, attractive smartphone kind of group.
Yeah, LeEco is definitely trying to branch out internationally because, well, to be honest though, even our sources in Asia, they've never heard of LeEco. Like, this is not a ZTE, not a Xiaomi, not Huawei. But LeEco, for some reason, they make headlines, and you do hear about them. So I'm actually very curious where they're getting all their funding from. They're a big company, $2 billion, like Lida said.
Yeah.
That's a very sizable thing.
Very pretty penny.
And they are trying to expand over here to North America. And definitely the electric car is very interesting. That was something
made a lot of headlines.
Made waves for sure. And then, rushing out with the newest technology, like the 820 on their phone in January before anybody else announced theirs. That was a good move too. So that's how I heard about them. I heard about them last year. They changed their name recently to LeEco. Before it was something else. But yeah, LeEco is a name to keep out for.
Yeah.
I do want to note, though, it is very interesting when I read the story. I actually interviewed and I produced a video interviewing the founder of Vizio, William Wang, CEO and founder William Wang. And this guy is a very, very prideful, strong guy. I will always remember him in the interview telling everybody, when I was a kid, I didn't want a stupid curved TV. I wanted a nice big flat screen TV, not crap that Sony's throwing out or Samsung for thousands of dollars when I can get a nice big flat TV. Nobody is doing that, so I'm going to do it. And he did, and he made his company apparently a $2 billion company. So I was really shocked when I heard that he was selling the company. This guy is so prideful, and he's selling off the company.
That means maybe he sees something really good coming.
He believes in the vision of LeEco? Is that
possible? Yeah.
So I'm curious, is Vizio going to be completely rebranded into the LeEco ecosystem, and they're going to be LeEco TVs? Or is it still operating as a subsidy, kind of like how Motorola and Lenovo work? So that will be curious to see. But yeah, are you sad about this? Like Vizio, like that was like the underdog that everybody loves to love because they're cheap and high quality.
It was. We owned a lot of Vizio televisions too in my family. Yeah.
My first TV that I purchased myself was for my room was a Vizio, 32-inch Vizio. So and that was a plasma back then. So that was the Yeah, for a kid owning his own TV, and it's a plasma flat screen TV, 720p HD. That was a huge thing for me. So I am a little saddened, especially since I did produce an interview with the founder, and now that I hear that it's being sold and it's a U.S. company going, well, it's not out of business, but it's selling.
They're selling, yeah.
So,
I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do with it, though.
The big conglomerate that LeEco is becoming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, LeEco definitely has a huge future. You're going to be hearing about them a lot. So, I guess this is the start of their branching out, So, interesting to see what LeEco does with Vizio, but we have another purchase. This one you might have actually heard more about than the previous one.
Yeah, so Verizon officially bought Yahoo for $4.8 billion. That's pretty crazy. Yahoo, basically their operating business includes everything advertising technology related, but they also have Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Finance, and they also have Tumblr as well, which is like a microblogging site.
Yes. Yeah, so Yahoo, ironically, started out as a search engine, and it was a huge search engine. People used it before Google got huge. And nowadays, people don't really use Yahoo search. They use Yahoo's other services. I personally use Yahoo for two things.
News, right?
News. It is my big news thing when I'm on a laptop or a computer. I'd go to Yahoo to check my news. It's a nice little combination of everything you want to learn. I wish Google would do that with Google. When you type in Google and you go to the Google website,
it's just the search engine.
It's just a search engine. It's not like how on your mobile devices you have Google Now. They do show you the news. They show you every information you need to know, including sports scores and all that stuff. Yahoo does that on their physical web pages. Google doesn't do that. So that's definitely something that I think Yahoo is very experienced at. And the second thing I use on Yahoo is fantasy sports. So Yahoo Fantasy, no, you laugh, but it's a huge thing.
True.
That is one of the best free-to-play fantasy sports, and it's been around for more than a decade. So Yahoo Fantasy Sports, I've been using it for more than 10 years.
And that being said, I mean, it's still really popular because Yahoo brings in about 1 billion users per month, too.
Yes. And by pairing Yahoo with AOL, I guess Verizon is trying to build a competition to not only Google, but other places like Facebook and stuff where people use it for news and for interaction. And it's interesting to note there might be a conflict of interest, wouldn't you think? Because, okay, so let's say you are a Verizon user and you use an Android phone, right? The default search engine is Google.
Yes.
Right? And Yahoo technically still is a search engine.
Yes.
So now that Verizon has acquired Yahoo, what, are they going to potentially set the default search engine as Yahoo, or are they going to get rid of the Google search engine? They can't, right? They have a deal with Google. They have to honor Alphabet's wishes to have Google as a search engine. So that might be a conflict of interest there, right? They're technically competitors, right?
That is true. I feel like what they're aiming for is that advertising is a really big thing, especially digital advertising. And so by buying Yahoo, they're able to hopefully use it as a advertising platform. It's even bigger now. And that's a huge thing for marketers too. So
yeah, that is definitely what I think Verizon is trying to do. They're trying to increase their marketing to get maybe a bigger lead, I guess, in the nation's, capita for mobile devices. They are a very big mobile juggernaut here in the United States. And not included in the deal is Yahoo's 15% stake in Alibaba and 36% stake in Yahoo Japan. So I guess Yahoo will still be operating independently? They're just a subsidy now of Verizon? That might be what this is all about. So,
sounds like it.
Yeah, so that is what's going on there. And that's an interesting thing we will be keeping an eye on, how Yahoo, I guess, evolves. And also, I wanted to note, too, Yahoo Messenger recently made a comeback. So I don't know if you remember in the early 2000s, Yahoo Messenger was a big competition for AIM, AOL Messenger.
Yep.
Now both of them are owned by Verizon, since AOL was purchased by Verizon as well.
True.
So they have two of the biggest early 2000s messenger programs. I wonder if they're going to try to combine it in like, well, not combine it, but yeah, make something out of it. You know, because Verizon they've been known for having bloatware. So if they're going to have bloatware, might as well make a really nostalgic, really nice messenger app that they would use.
That's true. And the only other competition they have right now is Facebook Messenger. That's pretty popular.
Oh no, they have a lot of competition. Yes. So Facebook Messenger, Google Hangouts, Google Messenger. Google's coming out with 2 other apps too. And Line. There's a lot. And Skype. Yeah,
that's true.
Microsoft has Skype. So everybody has one. But for a cell phone company, a mobile company like Verizon to make their own, because they do have the resources to, that could be interesting, because that might start another whole, I guess we can call it, bloatware war with T-Mobile and Sprint all coming out with their own messaging app. That would be the worst thing for us consumers, but that might be a very viable cause.
It's possible. It's very possible.
All right, let's jump from global takeovers to hardware. Okay, so we got a big hardware announcement this week that kind of came out of left field. Nobody was expecting it. And that was Blackberry. So Blackberry followed up their Priv, last year's Priv, with their second Android phone, and the first one without a physical keyboard. So Blackberry is back for round 2 with Android and their Dtek50.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about the Dtek50?
Sure. So the Dtek50 shares the same hardware specifications and designs as the Alcatel Idol 4, which is another mid-range all-touchscreen phone. And BlackBerry claims that the Dtek50 is the world's most secure smartphone.
I wouldn't doubt that, though. BlackBerry is a very... Well, except for that other one. There's, I think, Is it Black Box or something? There's another cell phone, a British one that is very secure too. But BlackBerry is known for business and security. So
absolutely. It will be available for release August 8th, but you can pre-order it for $300, and you can get it unlocked through T-Mobile and AT&T. $300 is pretty good. Yeah.
Is it really though? I mean, if you think about it, is $300 really, I guess, affordable in this price point? We got to continue with the spec.
That's true. Okay, so it's 5.2 inches. It has a 1080p display. It runs the Qualcomm Snapdragon 617 processor, and it comes with 3 gigabytes of RAM, a 13 megapixel camera, and 2600 milliamp battery.
So on paper, it's basically almost the same as the Alcatel Idol 4, and somewhat similar to the Sony XA I have here, and also the Moto G4, because they all run the Snapdragon 617 with, it does have an extra gigabyte of RAM compared to some of the other ones. However, let's look at what it actually is molded from. So this is the exact same mold as the TCL Alcatel Idol 4. So if you don't know, Alcatel contracts BlackBerry contracted TCL to lease their design out for BlackBerry to use to develop this. So they didn't develop their own hardware. They actually, and they didn't steal it. So a lot of people are like, oh, they stole from Alcatel. No, they didn't. So TCL leased out the design to BlackBerry. So they paid money for the design.
It's a partnership, basically.
And so you're basically getting, for $300, a Alcatel 4S, Alcatel Idol 4S, but without the Quad HD screen, it's only 1080p, and without the fingerprint scanner.
That's true, there's no fingerprint scanner.
For $50 more, you can get the same design phone from the original company, Alcatel and TCL. For $50 more, you can get it with a fingerprint scanner and a higher resolution screen.
That's true.
And for me personally, I don't know why you would go with BlackBerry unless you are really hardcore about security, and some people are really hardcore about security. For me, BlackBerry was always about the physical keyboard. So without the physical keyboard, this is just another Android phone. So is the security aspect really that
That's
important?
true. That's a very good point. However, it might also be a good statement that BlackBerry did say that they will be releasing future devices with keyboards.
Right. But is this signifying something else, though? I mean, for the fact the Priv was not a top seller.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's no longer selling in any major retailer. T-Mobile dropped it. I think AT&T no longer sells it in their store too. It's all gone now. You have to buy it on eBay or third parties. And for their second phone on Android, they didn't even design the phone themselves. They leased a design out from another OEM.
Yeah.
Is this a signification that BlackBerry is switching over to software because they are pushing so hard that they are the world's most secure smartphone? And so are they just literally becoming a software who purchases hardware to put their software on? Is that what they're trying to become now?
It's possible, because you're right. They do absolutely advertise that, their software called the Hub is, what they claim to be the safest, most securest, most secure software available. So
right. So I personally, after seeing this, I really think BlackBerry is changing their model because they gave it one last heave as a hardware maker last year with the Priv. And while I thought the Priv was actually pretty nice looking, it wasn't practical in 2016. We kind of moved on now, sadly, because I love physical keyboards, but we kind of moved on. And the market has spoken. So I think BlackBerry has realized that, and they've decided to focus more on software, focus more on software. And this might be a model going forward. Even if they do have another keyboard on their next phone, they might not actually design it. They might actually lease out a designer or contract someone else to design it for them. Saves a little bit of money there instead of hiring top-notch designers. And
it's true, and competing with all the other smartphone designers out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Would you, between all the mid-range phones like this, the Sony XA, the Moto G4, Moto G4 Plus, HTC One A9, and of course the new Alcatel Ido 4S and the Ido 4.
Yeah.
Out of all of them, would you buy the Dtek50? Is that even in consideration? Just plain out because they all have the Snapdragon 617. Is that in your consideration?
It's not. To be honest, it really isn't. I mean, I feel like the security issue is big, but I never felt any of my other phones that I had were not secure either. So I don't know what BlackBerry has in the Hub.
Well, they are technically insecure. Android is pretty insecure. It's a pretty well-known fact. But we may not feel like it's insecure, but
as a day-to-day user,
yeah, you don't notice it. So what Lida is trying to say is that we don't notice if it's insecure. But what BlackBerry is saying that it's very insecure, and that they, in essence, is that security blanket that you don't need to worry about, but they're protecting you. Whereas on all the other Android phones, you need to put some effort into maintaining that security, right? So
yeah, but I still don't know if that would make it a top runner for me when I'm deciding what phone I want to buy.
For the general consumer, because it isn't the most pretty phone. The backing, they changed the back. It's not the dual glass like the Ido 4S, so it is not too attractive, but. And the pricing here is a little tricky. Like I said, for $50 more, you can get the same design phone, in my opinion, that looks nicer because it's dual glass too. And you get a Quad HD screen, a fingerprint scanner, and a VR headset packaging. So, I consider buying this, but at the same time, it's only a Snapdragon 617 as well. And it's a hard consumer to purchase. The people who want to buy a 617 device will get the Moto G4 because it's only $150.
Exactly.
The people who want a nicer design phone are willing to spend that money for
something else.
With Snapdragon 617, they would buy the HTC One A9 or something like the Sony right here. It's just so much prettier. Or even the Ido 4S. Most likely the Ido 4S is going to be the top winner in this little Snapdragon 617 ballpark. So. It's a tough crowd for BlackBerry to crack, and I don't think this one will succeed, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
If it does drop to about like $200, I think that 200 to 250 is a nice little ballpark for this phone, which it might be successful if it was that cheap.
That's true.
But moving on to our last story of the week. This is our always favorite company. I'm being sarcastic here, but Xiaomi is back, and...
Yeah, so they launched their very first laptops. It's called the Mi Notebook Air, and it's going to run on Windows 10, and it'll be available in both the 13.3 inch, which is their flagship, and a 12.5 inch. They both have a 1080p display, and they have a 1 megapixel camera, a backlit keyboard, and USB Type-C charging port. And it'll be available in gold or silver.
Right. And it's interesting to note because they are trying to be a competitor to Apple. The Apple, well, okay, so it's kind of confusing. So the Air, the Mi Air book, they call it Mi Air book. Oh, is it Mi Notebook Air? Sorry. The Mi Notebook Air is more of a competitor. The 13-inch one is more of a competitor to the MacBook Pro than it is the MacBook Air,
yes.
in from the specs at least. So we read some of the specs. We'll go a little more in depth right now. So it is a 13.3-inch model, same size as the MacBook Pro. Inside, we're looking at Intel Core i5 Skylake processor. So this is the new processors, the current ones. And it does have a dedicated graphics chip. So it's an NVIDIA GeForce 940MX GPU. Not bad. Not bad. Because keep in mind, Macs don't have dedicated GPUs. No. We are looking at, it's a dual-core processor, 2.3 gigahertz, and it turbo boosts up to 2.7 gigahertz. So this is a very powerful thing.
It's looking very good so far.
On paper. It's interesting to note, though, that the 12.5-inch one, however, does not have a dedicated GPU. So that is more like what you're going to get with the MacBook Air and with the 12-inch MacBook there.
And it also runs the 12.5-inch runs the Intel Core M3.
M3, yes, the M3, the current M3. So it is a little faster than previous generations of the M3. So yeah, that's more of an underpowered device that you'll see on the MacBook. So it is more like a competitor to the 12-inch MacBook. But oh my gosh, the pricing on this, the 12.5-inch especially.
Yes. It's priced at about $520 US versus the 13.3-inch is going for about $750 US. Even then, a Core, what was it, Core i5? Yeah.
With a dedicated graphics chipset for under $1,000, it's difficult to fathom this. We are seeing Core M devices go for thousands of dollars, like the Lenovo laptops, of course, MacBooks. I mean, it's crazy to think a Skylake Core i5 with a dedicated GPU is going for $700. Unbelievable. I mean, I am definitely going to try to import one of these. I'm probably going to try this 12-inch one. But 7, I mean...
I was going to say we should hop on a plane and just fly over there and pick it up ourselves.
We'll send Ben back to China and have him pick one up. But yeah, I mean, on paper, these just look like a dream come true. But it's Xiaomi, once again. Xiaomi, you always have a love-hate relationship with them. Android, apparently, with Android. I'm working on my review right now for the Xiaomi Mi Pad Android edition, and spoiler, I'm going to spoil it a little bit right now. I was going to conclude with Xiaomi fatigue. I'm having Xiaomi fatigue. It's always the same thing. You unbox the baby out and you take it out. Oh my gosh, this is great build quality. I can't believe beautiful. I got it for so cheap. Yeah. It's a steal. And then you turn it on and there's so much work you got to put into it to make it usable. Because we're not in China, we don't live in China, we don't use MIUI here, we don't, it's pretty locked. MIUI is more like Apple, it's pretty locked with iOS and stuff like that. We're not accustomed to that as Android users, so we got to tinker with it to make it feel more like a Google phone. And once you're done with that, things work for a little bit and then it doesn't. Breaks. It kind of breaks down, things kind of crash here and there, it's like...
It takes a lot of work. It does take a lot of work.
And then you got to wait for it to, wait for developers to get ROMs going. You got to wait for Xiaomi to give us what we need to make ROMs. And by the time you root it, you're kind of like, oh, I want to move on to a different device now. And so I kind of have Xiaomi fatigue. And it's always the same cycle, I've noticed.
It's a good way of saying it. Xiaomi fatigue.
Xiaomi fatigue, yeah. It's always the same cycle. But that's Android. How much can they put on a Windows device, right? Like, they don't have a custom skin on top of Windows. I've never seen anyone with a custom skin on top of a Windows device, right? You do a custom skin on top of Android, but you don't have custom skins on top of a computer OS. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen that before, right? They just have bloatware, which we can manage because it's Windows. So this could, I hate to say it, but this could potentially be that thing that we always talk about with Xiaomi. It could be that big game changer, or it could be the same Xiaomi fatigue device that we've been having for a while.
It's true, but for what it's worth, definitely want to get our hands on it to play around with it. Same cycle.
Same cycle. It's hard not to when you look at it also has a backlit keyboard. $500. $500 devices rarely have backlit keyboards.
It's true. And the USB Type-C charging port, they claim that the battery on the 13.3-inch lasts for 9.5 hours.
Everybody claims that, though.
That's true. And the 12.5-inch can last for up to 12. Excuse me. And you can go from 0 to 50% charge in about 30 minutes.
Yeah. What does help that, though, is that it is only a 1080p screen. Yes. So definitely we are going to import one over. It's not that hard to import, guys. There's so many websites out there that you can import Xiaomi devices. I know it's not going to be officially released in America, but it will have different languages on the device. It's a Windows device. So definitely we are going to import one. We're going to show it on the channel when we do, or we'll send Benny to China again. But yeah, that wraps it up for us today. Awesome stuff, as always. Thank you so much for working this episode with me again. And anything to conclude on? No, we're coming out with a lot more stuff. We've just been busy unboxing and reviewing. You got a new phone. I did. The ZTE Axon 7, which I am loving. She gets the flagship ones, and I get... You're the hardcore Sony fan, though. I am. Yeah, I am a Sony homer, if I'm any homer. But yeah, once again, I'm Alex. Lida here. Thank you guys so much, and we'll be back very soon with other videos. Be sure to subscribe, like our videos, and comment. Thank you guys for all the comments, and we will talk to you guys next time. Bye. Separate things.